So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today to talk about 9-Star Ki Astrology. I'm going to really try to boil it down to really just a few of the basics. Just want you to understand the energy of the year you're in. I'm going to mute everybody, but if you have a question, you can put it in chat. But I obviously, while I'm presenting, I probably won't see it. And if you want to wait till the end, I'll open up the speakers for everybody. And when I allow the speakers to go, you will get an opportunity to unmute yourself, but you'll have to do that. All right. So thank you again, everybody, for joining me today. Like I said, I hope that this will be, this is my first time teaching this outside of like my certification program. And it is part of my Feng Shui program, and I use it as part of my Feng Shui, although it's not really Feng Shui. What I love about this system is that it is very simple. Oh, hey, Deb, just saw you join. It is a really simple system, but very elegant. What we're going to focus on is this one aspect of the system that allows us to kind of see the energy of the year we are in. So I am going to, let's see if I can pin my video. Alrighty. There's a bunch of chats already. Okay, just awesome. Alrighty, and you do have the opportunity if something goes wrong and all of a sudden you can't hear me, which I hope doesn't happen, you can, I think, unmute yourself and just say, hey, Maureen, we can't hear you. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, this system is, there's lots of ways to use it. And one of the ways to use it is to look at your particular element based on your birth date. And I have used that. And what I love about this system is that it is based on the 5 elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And these 5 elements are according to Chinese philosophy. So I just really love how they help us work with the natural world. Now, I've been studying Western astrology most of my life, and that is really complex. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like a never-ending pit. That sounds awful, but it's a never-ending study, as many esoteric disciplines are. They are meant for you to go inward, and not only go inward, but take what you learn to the outer world and, you know, work on your own personal and spiritual growth. So like Feng Shui, Western astrology is super deep. So I'm continuing to study. When I was introduced to Chinese astrology, which is based, it's called 4 pillars, I was told by some very wise people, Maureen, this is just as deep as Western astrology. And I went, all right, I'm not going there because I'm really steeped in the Western system. However, I was introduced to 9-Star Ki, which is a Japanese form of astrology, and it is based on something called the magic square. So let me, before I go too far ahead of myself, let me just introduce myself really briefly. I'm Maureen Calamia. I live in St. James, Long Island in New York. I have written a book called Creating Luminous Spaces in 2018, and it is available wherever online books are sold. That book is about my love of these 5 elements and how they can really help us understand our inner nature, but also connect to the outer world. I, of course, teach, I do retreats. I just love gathering together with like-minded people. Hence, I do a lot of online workshops. And of course, I have been doing them for many years. I've been teaching online since 2013, I believe. And my certification program started in 2015. So I'm very, very grateful and very lucky that I have a vibrant online community of wonderful souls. And I am married for, it's going on 36 years, and I have 2 grown children. I'm very happy, and happy Mother's Day to everybody who is on this call. So this is the magic square. It is something in mathematics that is known as kind of, it's, if you're into Sudoku, and I have no idea how it's related to Sudoku, but I know it's pretty magical. If you add up the numbers across or down or diagonal, everything adds up to 15. So there's only one way to do it, that they add up to 15. So pretty cool. And this is really the foundation. Whoops, I didn't mean to go to the end. Sorry. So the Feng Shui Bagua map is really part of this magic square. So these numbers are embedded in the Feng Shui Bagua map. And as you can see here, there's a little, short description of the energy for each of these areas. We're going to go into this a little further as we go. But this 9 squares, every single one has an element, you will see. So right under the number is the element that rules that area. And as you can kind of see here, it's very much based on nature. It's based on the seasons and nature cycles. And of course, our life is seasons and cycles. So I really love that connection. And to think of our lives going through these different areas or these different types of energies just really makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now the Bagua, 9-star key, uses what's known as the solar calendar. So it is a different new year than we have. Now, many of you are familiar with the Chinese New Year, and you probably are aware that that new year fluctuates every year. It's not a set date. That is really the lunar calendar. The solar calendar, however, is always the same date, and that's what 9-star Ki Astrology uses. So the new year starts February 4th every single year. So what does that mean? If you happen to have a birth date between January 1st and February 3rd, according to the system, you were born the previous year. So that's kind of a big thing. So please make note that if you were born in that time period, you're actually the year before. So for instance, if you were born January 28th, 1979, you would need to look up January 28th, 1978, because according to the system, you were that previous year. So I hope that makes sense to you. And of course, if you weren't born during this time period, but you want to look up someone in your life that was, you need to make that correction. My daughter happens to be born February 3rd. So it's like Chinese solar calendar, New Year's Eve. So she was born in 1990. However, I have to look at 1989 for her birth, for her information. Okay. So here's the lookup. So I'm going to keep this chart up for a couple of minutes. I want you to notice that at the very top in the yellow are numbers. Those are the 9-star key numbers. And then, of course, in the columns and rows are birth years. So it's sequential. It starts in 1919 and goes all the way to 2026. So there's obviously more years than we need here. But just find your birth year. And whatever column you are in, look up. And that is your primary number. You might want to write it down. Just make a mental note if you don't have a pen or a pencil. That's your primary number. So I was born August 20th, 1963. So I am all the way in the last column, 1963. I was born after February 4th. So I am in 1963 and I look up and I'm a 1. You can also write down the element. So I'm a 1 water. This is your primary number in this system. And that doesn't change. So I'm going to give you a few more minutes in case you want to look up somebody in your life. Your children, your partner, anybody. The element isn't so important for you today. We're not going to really get into that at all. But it's really important that you get that number at the top. And obviously, if you are watching a replay or anybody who's live who didn't get a chance to kind of go through all of this for, if you want to do several family members or something, just know that when I send the replay out, you can come back to this, pause it, take a screen cap. Hey, that's a good point. You could just take your phone and take a photo of the screen and you have it. All right. Okay, I'm going to advance now. So this is another screen cap. You might want to take a photo. So what cycle are you in? So the number in that first column, that's your primary number that you just discovered. Whatever that number is, look across, and that's going to tell you the number of the year you're in. So again, I'm a 1. I'm in a 9 year. For you, for those of you who get my newsletter the other day, I was explaining, what a 9 year was a little bit and why I was just driven to kind of do this workshop, because the energy of a 9 year, I just was like, this is just an amazing system. I have to share this with everybody. So I've known that for a long time, but it just kind of came to me the other day as I was writing my newsletter. And as I was writing the newsletter, I went, I'm doing a free workshop. And yeah, I'll do it on Monday. So, all right. So hoping that you've discovered your number, write that down. Okay. Now, each one of these years has a different type of energy. And I'm actually going to go back to the slide here. Okay, so this is a really good slide. This is a summary kind of slide. So we're looking at the number of the year that you're in. So look for where that is. And for some of you, if you've got that knowledge of the Feng Shui Bagua, you can add all sorts of kind of information to this. But we're going to go through each of these numbers one by one. I'm going to do a little kind of brief review of that. So let me just do something here. I'm just going to make sure I have some of my notes up for myself, because I don't want to miss any really important information in this. Okay, so 1 years, as you would imagine, this is like numerology. So if any of you have knowledge of Western numerology, it's similar. However, the descriptions are going to be a little different according to this system. So obviously, 1 is the beginning of a whole new cycle. So if you happen to be in a 1 year, the energy of 1 tends to be pretty quiet. So it is equated to the energy of winter. It's kind of like that incubation time. It's it is not a great year for starting brand new things. You might think that a 1 year is, because it's the beginning of a new cycle. However, the energy of 1 is more about you reflecting on what this new cycle should be, consciously or unconsciously. And I have just found it's really amazing to consider that we feel even knowing them. It's just pretty cool, right? So 1 years tend to be quiet. If we try to like really start big things, I'm not talking about doing little, maybe extending and doing a little bit of what we were doing. We start trying to do something that's really big and new, we're going to get thwarted by the universe in some way. So let me give you a quick, for instance. I was starting a 1 year in 2013. I was in my 1 year. And I had this idea for a while that I wanted to do these workshops, these actually, in-person workshops, bringing some of my master teachers in. And I reached out to one of the teachers, unsure if it was going, like just throwing the idea out there. And he was like, yeah, let's put it on the calendar. Okay, great. So a few months later, we had this date. I was still in my 1 year. And I went, well, it came to me. Oh, I'm in a 1 year. Oh, it doesn't matter. The energy is right. He's ready. I'm ready. Let's do it. Well, the universe thwarted that action and it couldn't happen in that year. We wound up having to postpone it because the speaker had some things that came up that prevented him. He needed to travel to Asia. So it was like, okay. So we wound up moving it into my 2 year. And certainly the energy was right, even though 2 years aren't as, great for action, they're better. And the workshop was a great success. So just want to let you know, if you happen to be in a 1 year and you're struggling, or maybe even last year, some of you may have been in a 1 year, just know that it was the year for you to really go deep and inside and figure out what you want to do, how you're going to do it. So, we don't have to think about everything, right? The universe helps us along the way, but we have to create some kind of plan. It is not great energy to take action. So have patience. Okay. Now a 2 year. Now, no, these numbers seem to be in really random places, not following any particular order, but it's called the 9-star path. We're not going to get into this today, but Feng Shui practitioners will know it or you'll learn it. Okay. So 2 is now all the way up here, right? 2 is the energy of germination. This is where you're really planting the seeds for the energy. It is known as, well, maybe you're not planting the seeds, but you're starting to see the efforts, your plans start to take root. It is the energy of early spring. So finally, you can take some steps to move forward, like I did with that workshop. It is a great time to create relationships, to network, to make new friends. It is definitely a peaceful energy, so really kind of nice. This area of the Bagua is related to romance and relationships. So yes, it's like harmony and peace among people. Your efforts should be steady. You should be persistent and not expect like immediate results. This is like taking roots, having patience still, allowing things to take root. Be sure to follow through. That is really, really important in a 2 year. Again, patience, things are building, add structure to your long-term strategy of what you see coming in this next phase of your life. Okay, now a 3 year is all the way over here. And you see the word sprouting, wood. This is where, wow, yes, life and vitality. So in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in that energy. Everything is sprouting. Everything is just budding. The leaves are coming out, all the flowers. It's just beautiful. So when you think about your life, it's sprouting when you're in a 3 year. So it's full on growth. Again, you need to be persistent to manifest what you want. You need to be persistent. You're starting to see things really happen. There could be some minor setbacks, but you're really moving forward. You have support. it's definitely a great time to take action. So if you didn't take action in your 2 year, take it now. In your business, in your career, in your personal life. Be careful though. 3 wood, the energy of 3 wood can be impulsive. So it could also be workaholic tendencies. So if you find yourself getting burnt out, or before you get burnt out, take a step back and be much more mindful of self-care, because you could burn yourself out in a 3 year. However, there's great vitality and enthusiasm, and sudden changes are possible. They could be unexpected, like great things that happen. That's why, we need to focus, we need to plan, but we also need to know that if we have our eye on the goal, the universe will bring us things that we need right when we need it. So pay attention, stay calm, stay attention to detail. So 4 years, like, whew. Now, I mean, a 3 year. A 4 years also like, woof, it's wood energy again, and it's rapid. So rapid growth is happening now. Projects are really starting to bear fruit. If you didn't kind of see anything in your 3 year, they're definitely moving forward now and happening. Thanks, guys. It's great to see some of your feedback on the years you're in. Oh, awesome. So let's see here. Shouldn't get off focus here. Okay, so it can be really rewarding when you're in a 4 year and inspiring, but you have to also be thoughtful rather than forceful, because wood can be forceful. It can be impulsive, and then it can be a little too forceful. So remember, in any energy of any year, everything really comes back to balance. So even though the energy might be go, 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 you need to also remember, take a breath, self-care, come back to balance. Okay. Watch that your actions are in sync in a mature and responsible manner. That talks to balance again, right? So just, don't change direction impulsively. Don't chase after every shiny thing. Kind of come back to what your goal is, what the long-term goal is, and use that as your beacon. If you get diverged off something, sometimes that can happen and that can eventually lead to that goal. That's fine. But be really mindful of what you get pushed to or pulled to, because there's so much happening. You might get really off, and you might expend a whole lot of energy and time on something that is really kind of going after this false goal over here. Okay, travel and steady work on your path can really lead to great results. You may meet influential people that are really going to help you and support you in a 4 year. Okay, now 5. Notice that the 5 is grayed out, right? It's accentuated. It's right in the center of the Bagua. 5 is one of my years that I love, because it is just a really dynamic year too. Lots of opportunities can come your way. And like I tell clients, I tell students, like, it is a very dynamic year. These years, these 5 years can be very influential in your life. And they can actually bring you opportunities that you're going to really be involved with for years to come. So, for instance, there's a couple of board members from the International Feng Shui Guild on this call. And I'm not sure if they know this, but in a 5 year, I saw that they had an opening on the board that they were looking to fill. And I was a brand new Feng Shui practitioner. I'd only been practicing a couple of years, had just joined the Feng Shui Guild. And I'm like, you know what, let me apply. And I wound up getting on the board. Well, I served for 10 years on the board. Um, Another opportunity came my way for volunteering at a local nature education center. And I just was like, oh, let me look into that. Well, 15 years later, I'm still volunteering. And some of you who follow me on social media, especially Instagram, they see that I'm caring. Well, I was caring for baby squirrels now, past couple of years. During the fall and the spring seasons, I've been caring for them. And oh, what a gift. So just know that when things show up in a 5 year, you can be really like, these are things that you're going to be committing to for a long time. So 5 years are really cool. They could be also, you could have repercussions, karmic repercussions. So if you haven't been following your path or your personal and spiritual growth, things can kind of come back at you in a 5 year. So, it can be also, notice that, like I said, 5 is in the center. It's a year of fluctuation. So it could be really good and really not so good. I'm not going to say really bad, but just kind of, if you aren't following your path and your soul's purpose here. And we all have times like that. We have 5 years throughout our life, and we've all had 5 years that have come and kind of maybe slapped us on the head a little bit, like, come on, wake up. But 5 years can be really dynamic and amazing if you are really following your path. You need to take some time to reflect on connecting to those experiences of your past and why things aren't going your way if they are not, right? And doing this work in a 5 year will really bring you up to like another level. So if you are having a challenging 5 year, just know that you can really come out of this like so much further ahead. It can be very prosperous and a happy path for you. Projects come to fruition in a 5 year. Even though you're not done with your cycle, 5 years can be a time of great beginnings and great endings. So yeah, well, let me go through all the numbers and then I'll just have another word about a 5 year. Okay, 6 year. It is the energy of early autumn. So just kind of think about that, right? If you're really in tune with the patterns of nature, or even if you have a very, light connection with the natural world, you know what early autumn is. It's shifting, right? Shifting the energy. It is the beginning of harvest season. And it is connected with prosperity because the harvest is coming in and you're able to maybe sit back a little bit and enjoy what you've cultivated in the last 5 years. That is if you're on your path, okay? It can be attaining material wealth. And remember that any money you gain is from past efforts and karmic rewards. You may become known for your knowledge, ability, and skills. You could get a promotion or retire. It could be your ambitions are fulfilled in some way. If things are going really well for you, again, it's all about balance. So remembering that, what you've reaped is what you're reaping is what you sowed. Okay. So if you are reaping these great rewards, make sure you don't become arrogant about it, right? It's all about balance. Maybe, have some generosity with others, of material wealth, but also of your time. Generosity with others really helps to kind of balance the success of a 6 year. So, you don't want to kind of spark jealousy among others. So being generous is a great way, and doing good deeds is a great way to kind of balance that energy and practice compassion. So even if you're doing super great, other people may not. So be mindful of that and supportive. Really important. I mean, that's important to know for any year. Okay, now from a 6 year, you move into a 7 year. So those of you in your 7 year, that is late autumn. It is a time of celebration. So although the 6 year was like sitting back a little, the 7 year is like, oh, things should come very easily. It is definitely a year of great joy. Now, I have to say that I've experienced 6 and 7 years that were not prosperous, that were not joyous, that were like, I don't believe in this 9 star key stuff. But it was because I wasn't ready for it. I needed to learn some things. And I was still in kind of a cycle of really pushing forward. So not everyone does. It all depends on what you've done up to that point, right? It also might be not as grand as, oh my gosh, it's a great year of celebration and joy. You might have the more little, lower key joys. In fact, we have to remember, especially in those years, that we're not feeling very lucky or wanting to give gratitude. We have to remember to bring that into our practice, having gratitude for all those little things in our life, little joys. So 7 years are a time for creativity and really being more creative. It can be a very productive time. Like I said, things may come real easily, but remember to keep active maintenance. So if things are going really well, say in your business or something, it's not the time to go and fool around. You do have to kind of keep things moving along, being persistent, being in balance, self-care, always. It's a great year for socializing. Again, like the 7 metal is really about social engagements, just getting together with others, networking, travel. Be cautious about overspending or exhaustion, like I said, self-care, lending a hand to others that may not be having such a wonderful year. Again, always. Okay, 8 year. Now, 8 is the image of the mountain, and know that the key word there is stillness. So 8 is this like image of a mountain that is strong and still. However, mountains often have the cave. So it could be an emotional year where you need to go inside. You need to do more inner work. You have the opportunity to make bold changes in your life based on that inner work that you do. Or you might be at a time where you have done a lot of inner work and now it's kind of like the butterfly. Actually, it's the chrysalis stage, right? So it's that, okay, there needs to be some change on a really deep level, which is going to impact everything in my life. You may decide to move, start a new business or a career. For best results, develop a plan and focus and be resilient and strong like that mountain. That mountain image can be very helpful for people going through a year like this. Again, like I said, it can be an uncomfortable time dealing with difficult feelings. But know that we're never done dealing with difficult feelings. No matter how much inner work we do, we always spiral around to those challenging negative feelings. But hopefully when we come around to them, we're at a higher level. We're working through them throughout our lives. We're never done with that childhood hurt. This is me talking. We can't our wounds don't just go away. They're always there. However, it's how we manage and work through it, that there's just hopefully lighter and lighter and lighter as we go through our life. And we can kind of see it for what it is, and we can bless it and give gratitude for that experience eventually. Um, so that is a lot of what an 8-year is. But we can, again, like a 5-year, if we invest really on our inner work, we can come out leaps ahead from where we were. So great. Now we're at the last year, the 9-year. 9 years associated with fire, and see the key word is fame. Now, obviously, fame isn't like, you become Oprah or something, but, you develop a recognition maybe within your community, whether it be a small pond or a big ocean. It is a year of being out there in the public. It is the peak of a 9-year cycle. It's expansion and rapid development. So you can kind of see this is really different from an 8-year. Like, again, it's like, whoo, energy, it's fire. You will be exposed to a wide variety of people, again, opportunities in a 9-year. So, most people in their 9 years have a really bright and fortunate outcome to the energy. It can be a really bright and positive time, really warm, right? So think of the fire element. There's energy and enthusiasm for life. You may get new job offers. You may start a new relationship, romantic relationship. Because the energy is so like, whew, fiery, you make sure, again, balance, that you stay grounded and care for yourself. Again, we can have the opportunity or the, just the feel that we just want to go, 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 because things are just flying at us with lightning speed. Take care. You have the opportunity now to close out old issues before you start a whole new 9-year cycle. Things tend to come to the end, something in a 9-year. It could be really good. It tends to be something that you really need to let go of. It's like old baggage from that 9-year cycle that you don't want to carry into your next 9-year cycle. So what I tend to find is very often clients and students have like major endings or major beginnings in a 1, 5, or 9-year. Those tend to be those years that people move, people get divorced, or start a whole new career. It's not always. It might be smaller, like maybe your living arrangement shifts a little bit, or maybe you have a new agreement with your partner, or maybe you start a new job, maybe the same career. So it tends to happen in those years. Those are the most fluctuating type of years. So let's move forward. This is a little summary chart. You might want to take a snapshot of this too. It will just give you some keywords for the years that I went through. So if you're, you've got the number, you've got the energy, which is just like the keyword. You have what you might be feeling that type of year, and then what's it a good time for, a time to do in these years. And always, like I said, balance, 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 no matter what type of year you're in. So if you're in a year that's much quieter, wow, yeah. Okay, Suzanne just brought up something really important is, 2020. Yeah, 2020 was just a real aberration. So I think it kind of like, it messed up this cycle. It's just one of those blips, right? So if you were supposed to have a really dynamic year for growth and it was 2020, so don't get disheartened. I would say that maybe some of that pent up energy will express itself this year. So it tends to go from like a really vibrant year to like a quieter year. So if you're in a quieter year, you might have some of that energy that will express itself this year because things have opened up for the most part, at least in the United States. Yeah, I mean, this is just like an unknowable, the way humanity has been impacted. It's impacted everybody at every level. So, but just know that the energy still will linger. I was in an 8-year last year. So, it was a year of, it was very much the year of 2020. So it was a time for me to go inside, a time for me to deal with some difficult feelings again at like another level. It was that inner reflection a lot. So I'm in a 9-year, and this year is much more like I was expressing in my newsletter, like, early this year, all of a sudden I got all these requests out of the blue. I was not going after any of them. All these different requests to interview me, to interview my book, which came out in 2018, so that was kind of, I haven't been interviewed about my book in over a year. So that was pretty cool. And I've done some like big speaking engagements. So it's like, wow, okay, cool. It's that 9-year of being out there. And of course, I'm doing a lot of things that I really need to tap into that fame and recognition and reputation. So that is the power of a 9-year. Yeah, we don't need to travel to make these opportunities. Obviously, we've got the internet, we've got Zoom, we've got social media. We don't need to be getting around the way we used to in order to expand our career, right? So I'm going to open it up in just a second. I just wanted to share, this is my book. Very excited that it is a #1 Amazon bestseller, but of course you can get it wherever online books are sold, paperback, Kindle, or audio. I have been teaching online courses, like I said, since 2015. And it's part of my Luminous Spaces Feng Shui school. So I teach about Feng Shui, a certification program, earth energy healing, which is about dowsing and the intuitive connection with the natural world. Biofuelic Design, for those of you who are a little bit more research and analytical minded, it's a really cool system. It's not my creation, but I've created my own version of Biofuelic Design, which is about nature connection in our indoor spaces, which, by the way, is more important than ever since 2020. I also teach some courses in spirituality, whatever I feel like compelled to teach, and of course, in-person retreats, and I've done some online retreats. So if you aren't on my newsletter list, you can always go to my website and sign up or take my quiz, True Nature Quiz. It's going to give you an indication of what 5-element energy that you are, which is what my book is all about, creating luminous spaces. And hopefully you'll be, a little bit more, learn a little bit about yourself when you take that quiz. So I would love to open this up. I'm going to stop my share. And how do I unmute everybody? Ask all to unmute. So please, this is a point to ask your questions. I think I'm going to stop recording now. So